Hey, this is Dr. B, and let's take a look at some principles and rules for electron configuration. Electrons will reside around a nucleus, and they'll get further from the nucleus as they gain in energy, which is the same thing as saying as you go from the smaller elements to the large elements, they'll go out into further and further shells and the subshells known as atomic orbitals within them. And there's some principles and rules that are handy to keep track of where they are. The first thing we should point out is that, in a manner of speaking, the electrons kind of aren't there. I know that sounds bizarre, but this is the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, which is, in its simplest form, that electrons are not pure matter. They're somewhere between matter and energy in the form of light, if you will. And therefore, we should not discuss them in terms of having an absolute location. After all, light can cover a huge range of locations within that beam. And so we talk about the electron not looking like that in terms of its location. That's too specific. They draw fuzz and talk about probabilities to point out that the electron position is, in its purest sense, uncertain. The Aufbau order is something we should always do. If you go from 1s2 to 2p1, you have violated the Aufbau order. You're supposed to go to 2s1 for lithium, not skip all those intermediate positions. Hund's rule reminds us to spread out those electrons within an orbital group. And that's also when we draw a orbital group, we always draw the total number of electrons within it. This should be a little bit shifted. 1s2 is there, 2s2 is there, and 2p2. Nice that they drew the three blocks for the orbital notation, but they should have shown them spreading out. And I will point out once again that even this model is not quite correct, since the 4 valence electrons in carbon, that means in the second shell, are of equal energy. Finally, we should very quickly point out that within an orbital group, that's a pair of electrons, the electrons tend to have opposite spins. Therefore, we've violated the Pauli principle here. We're in accordance with the Pauli principle there. These are some principles and rules of electron configuration.